This is Jared with Stampede Blue. This is your Indianapolis Colts post-game wrap. And the Colts lost today on the road, in the rain, in the city of brotherly love. The final score, of course, against the Philadelphia Eagles, 20-14. And the Colts, unfortunately, came on the wrong side of what, again, I would call a coin flip situation. As a Colts fan, you have to be encouraged at this point because it looks like even though the Colts aren't as good as other teams, as evidenced today, Philadelphia controlled this game from the front to the end, even when they were behind. The offensive line and defensive lines for the Eagles are more well-developed. They were healthier. It showed. However, it was important to see Darius Leonard follow up last week's Defensive Player of the Week and Rookie of the Week performance with yet another stellar outing. He had 13 tackles, 5 for a loss, and 2 sacks. And my boy Marcus Hunt, of course, had a couple tackles for a loss and a sack, and would have had another one that hadn't been called defensive holding, which hadn't heard in a while, but it was definitely defensive holding. That said, merely bringing up the officiating after a game when you're kind of reviewing everything is kind of sour feeling, especially when you come up short and you lose a game that you feel like you could have won. Of course, if you really want to talk about what happened in this game, there was an 11-minute drive in the fourth quarter for the Eagles that resulted in a touchdown. And I think that drive is evidence that the Colts aren't there yet. If you really want to know what happened today, the Colts didn't attempt to run the football. And if you take away Andrew Luck's 33-yard rush, the longest of his career, which was great and much needed, and those things need to happen too. But outside of that, the Colts had 11 carries for 38 yards, and that's like 3 and some change of carries, just really not trying to run the football, which is kind of awkward in the rain. But then again, they were behind. They needed to score. There's a lot of touches there at the end of the game that aren't going to be runs. They absolutely have to pass when you have less than a minute left and you just need to advance the football without wasting a bunch of time. You can't run the ball or have a receiver come down and bounce. So it's encouraging to see the Colts in position to win twice inside the last frame. So with 3 minutes left in the game, the Colts got the ball back, down 4 points, and drove all the way down the field and had fourth and goal on the 5 effectively, and didn't convert. And again, I just want to point out that it was raining. So before we go, light our torches and let's go burn down Eric Ebron's house, I really felt like the Colts have found a reliable tight end to complement a guy like Jack Doyle, and it's just unfortunate that Jack was out today because, again, the Colts find themselves in a position where, hey, if we're completely healthy, this game outcome could have been different. If you will notice that Andrew Luck was sacked late in the fourth from his left side, and that you just don't have Anthony Costanzo there. You can't give up that sack late. But otherwise, it is encouraging to see the Colts had 5 sacks today on defense. The Colts offense gave up 2 sacks, and obviously the one in the end, again, I feel is a coin flip situation. Which dimension did I have to live in where Andrew Luck plants his hand on the ground and maintains his footing and whips that ball downfield and lights the world on fire, right? And the Colts win on the road. Like, there's a dimension that happened, Rick and Morty fans. You know what I'm talking about, dog. So if you really think about it, the Colts did get outplayed, and they did lose the game. And hats off to the Philadelphia Eagles for playing what I feel is a spirited game that was very close. Both coaches showed a nuance, a little niche in the game where you notice those 2 fourth-down plays where the Colts lined up on fourth and go for it, right? And you're kind of like, whoa, that's a questionable go for it. And then they almost drew the Philadelphia Eagles offsides, and then that would have just been a game-changing play, and that's a coaching decision. So what I would want to say about the game today is that the game was well coached from both sides and well played from one side and a half. Because if you really want to talk about efficiency, Andrew Luck is passing the ball effectively. He's completed 62% of his passes today. There's nothing wrong with Andrew Luck at all. And again, I don't want to hear a word about the Colts putting in Jacoby Brissett to throw the ball there in the end. I think that Jacoby Brissett is a marketable player. I think that he could absolutely be traded for equity, and I would absolutely consider trading Jacoby Brissett and whatever else you want for Le'Veon Bell and give the Colts offense a jolt. I think he's a player worth taking a gamble on, and you got the money to do it. Hell, why not? We're right there. You got the Patriots coming up. You need to put some points on the board because this dink and dunk offense isn't going to work out. It's like we saying I feel like we're saying about the Colts offense now what I kind of poked fun at the Washington Redskins. That's why they lost to the Colts, is because if you're forcing your if you're forcing the quarterback into a check down every time, you just don't get as many yards out of that check down throw, right? A lot of those go to the running back and he gets tackled immediately. And if you look, the Philadelphia corners ate up that little screenplay all day long. It really wasn't very good for us. And I'm starting to wonder what's going on where the Colts feel comfortable passing the ball laterally on your own 5. Oh, get the ball downfield a little bit, please. Like, I know we were out without Jack, but that's really the route you want, is that little under route to the tight end. As opposed to trying to hit the swing to the running back. You're putting the ball in a odd spot for me. I already kind of feel like this team is going to be either heartache, heartbreak, or maybe I just need a pacemaker, you know what I mean? Like, if you really think about the way the Colts are being coached now, is that they're in games that they normally shouldn't be in. And if you really want to look from a talent perspective, even though the Eagles were down several offensive weapons, Alshon Jeffrey didn't play, Jay Ajayi didn't play, and Corey Clements was supposed to be questionable, but I feel like he came in there and played really well. And I also feel like Wendell Smallwood got that touchdown too late. He's a good running back, man. He's tough. But the Colts kind of showed that, again, if you look at statistics and those things matter to you at all, if you look at Darius Leonard and Clayton Geathers, you got a nice duo defensively. Those guys are in on a lot of plays. I think Geathers had 10 tackles today. And then, like I said, the Colts have pieces, man. They're right there. But again, I think we can all agree that if Anthony Costanzo's back and healthy, if a guy like Marlon Mack is healthy, and the Colts can establish any kind of ball control offense at all to counter what your opponent's doing. Because one of the things you have to point out is the Colts did not have a drive over 7 minutes today that resulted in points. They had a 5.5-minute drive that resulted in a field goal off a turnover. Which, again, anytime you get a turnover and you get points off a turnover, those are positive things. Those are things you need to happen. The Colts had an interception on defense, and then, of course, had a fumble. We're right there. We're so close. That was such a good game in terms of how close it was. And it felt like, man, I hate talking about it, but it felt like the officiating kind of helped the outcome a little. And I don't really want to say that. I really want to feel like the Colts won or lost the game on their own merit. I don't want to have this gut feeling that, like, some of them calls could have gone our way. But, I mean, it's a road game. It's hard to get a win in the NFL. We're playing in the rain. And again, I'm encouraged. I feel like we got some good pieces. We're right there. We just get a little healthier, and maybe not play in the rain. I think we could definitely win. And it was encouraging to see some second half adjustments. That's how the Colts got turnovers, was realizing that the only real reliable weapon that Carson Wentz had was his tight ends. And he chewed us up with them, but we also, we gave up a couple touchdowns to tight ends, but we also got a turnover. These things are really important to see a team reacting to what is very obvious about the opposing team's game plan, right? And that happened today, and that's encouraging, and I get it. Losing's not really where we want to be sitting here. Would like to be 2-1 going into a tough game against New England. Maybe not every bit of the New England we're used to, but Tom Brady's Tom Brady, dog. So here we are, 1-2, going into week 4. And this is Jared with Stampede Blue. This has been your Indianapolis Colts post-game wrap. Y'all have a good week. I'll see you next week.